Hello everyone and welcome back and welcome to the first video of 2022. I hope you guys had a great new year, great Christmas. Today I'm going to be cracking on with a different type of project, but something that's going to help me out in future projects as well as the MR2 build. Hello everyone and thank you very much for joining me once again. As I said a minute ago, today I'm going to be working on something a little bit different. However, it should hopefully help me in the future, especially with the MR2 project. With the MR2 paintwork nearing completion, it's now time to think about other bits that I'm going to have to be doing going forward. And one of the other things that I really thought about doing was obviously the suspension work, because I've got a couple of bent arms, I've got the coilovers and everything to put on. However, with those bent arms and stuff, I've already bought replacements. But as you can see, they're pretty naff condition. They're rusty, obviously. They're 20, 30-year-old parts. So, last Christmas, 2020, my other half actually bought me this. A DIY powder coating system. Now, the only problem with this was I don't have an oven to be able to bake parts, especially not parts like suspension arms or subframes and bits and pieces. So, what I really need to be doing over the last year was creating myself a new powder coating oven. I just never got round to it. Obviously, I've been busy with other projects like finishing off the paintwork of the MR2. It just wasn't an essential part of me being able to crack on and build one of these just yet. However, like I say, with the MR2 paintwork nearing completion, it's probably time to think about something like this where I'm going to be putting on the suspension arms. So really, I'm going to want to powder coat them before I put them back on the car. So that's what we're doing today. We are building a powder coat oven. In front of me, I've got all these bits of metal. So I'm going to be building a frame out of some C-stud wall section, and I've got loads of metal sheets. Now, this has cost me a fair amount of money to get to this point alone. However, it's still a good £1,000 cheaper than if I was to buy a powder coating oven off the shelf, especially in the size that I'm going to be building. I'm going to be doing a 2 metre by 1 metre powder coating oven, which should allow me to powder coat bits like subframes, wheels, all of that kind of thing, and have still room left over in the oven. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Hopefully we're going to just crack on and get the frame built at the very least. I still need to pick up a second-hand oven because that's what I'm going to be doing for the actual elements and the electronic side of the oven itself. So today what I really want to do is crack on, get the frame built, and then tomorrow after work I'm going to swing by and I'm going to pick up a second-hand oven which I've already located. It's only going to cost me like £20 to £50, so hopefully it's all going to be in working condition. But the main thing itself is just building the actual oven cabinet itself. So let's get cracking. Okay, so I'm not going to bore you and film every single piece individually because, well, we'll be here all day. But this is where I'm up to right now. I have created the floor section. I have cut this stud wall sections into 1 metre lengths because, as I said, I'm going to be making a 2 by 1 metre oven. So the base is 1 metre squared. And what I've done is I've used some casters that I got off eBay and I've attached them on. Not only does it now enable me to wheel it about, but obviously because I've now bolted this to the C-section frame as well, it's actually made everything a little bit more rigid. What I've done primarily is use rivets. So I have literally drilled into each section and I've pop riveted both top and bottom. So it is pretty rigid, it is nice and secure. I mean, it's only going to be holding up some 0.8mm steel sheet anyway. But yeah, this is where I'm up to right now. Obviously, before I was to put this top section in place, I've got some insulation over there, so I'd pack those 2 sections full of insulation before putting this piece on. But basically, I'm going to be doing this as a modular build like this. So I'm going to now do each wall section, and then I'll just rivet it all together. I've got some high temperature silicone oven sealant as well, which I'll make sure that I'll go around all the little creases and stuff so that everything is completely sealed, and that way it should keep the heat in nicely. But yeah, what I'm going to do now is pack this full of insulation, put this on top, and then we'll crack on and build the sides. Okay, so now I'm going to be building the side pieces. This is going to be the first of the side bits. So what I've done is these stud wall sections are 3 meter length in total. So what I've done is I've just taken off a meter of 2 sections, which then gives me 1 meter at either end, and then my 2 long 2 meter sections. What I've then also done is I've literally just taken this little lip, I've just ground it off, so that now when I slot the end pieces together, they don't bow out. So if I just slot this in here, that now sits in there really nicely. Whereas if I hadn't cut that lip off, where this lip is trying to slide in, the actual C section tends to expand out, so I wouldn't get a nice flush finish with anything. So that's what I've done on each of the 2 long 2 meter sections, so that now I can place them all together, check all my measurements, and then basically fiddle around with them and make sure that I get the actual 2 meter by 1 meter spot on before I then drill it and put the rivets in place. Okay, so that is literally my surrounding area. So like I say, what I'm going to do now is just double check all the measurements. 2 meter spot on. It's these side pieces here, because where I've slotted them in, it may be a little bit wider. 1 meter absolutely spot on. Two meters. And 1 meter absolutely spot on as well. So now that I know that the measurements are absolutely fine, I'm now going to go around and drill in each of these corners and stick some rivets in, probably 2 rivets on each corner. Then I'll flip it upside down and I'll do exactly the same, again making sure the measurements are fine, because obviously if I've turned it over and the sections aren't sitting straight, I might get like, you know, a bit over 1 meter or my 2 meters either side. So let's get these riveted in and then we'll flip it over and do the same. Okay, so it's all starting to get a little bit messy in here right now, but I have picked up a oven and I've already actually started to strip that down, ready to put all the gubbins into this. I've also built the top section. Now, I've only put the sheet metal on the inside because that way I can now get in and screw this to the wall sections, the same as what I'm going to have to do when I bolt the side sections to the bottom of the base with the casters and that on. So basically I have 3 sections right now which are absolutely ready to go, ready to get bolted up. Same with this side section here. I've put the sheet metal which is going to be on the inside, and I've left the inside section free because that way I can now put all the oven stuff and attach it to this piece of sheet metal, and also get it all insulated before I bolt on the final exterior piece of sheet metal. I've also built the 2 other side sections here, and I haven't put any sheet metal on it just yet. That's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to sheet metal the inside. That way I can then bolt those 3 bits together with the roof, the top section, and then bolt it to the base. Okay, so that's the sheet metal on one of these interior walls done. Now, what you will notice, though, I have this excess metal here. Now, obviously, I had to take into account when I'm building this entire thing the thickness of the C-stud section when the back wall gets bolted to it, and obviously this side piece is here. So even though I'm doing a 2x1 meter oven, these sections were 93 millimeters or 93 centimeters. So obviously, because this is an interior wall, I'm going to have to now bend this round, which actually I really wanted to do it that way, because hopefully if I can bend this round, then I've got a nice complete flush section for the door to bolt up against. I've got some proper fiberglass oven door seal coming, so obviously if I can get this bent round and sat up against this section, I now have a nice flush surface to mount that on, and all of these holes where the insulation is going to be poking out will be completely covered. That's the plan anyway. I now need to try and bend this round. I've got a hammer. I'm hoping that I'll just be able to tap it round and get it round nicely. Let's have a go. Okay, so it's not amazing, but I'm actually pretty pleased with how that's turned out. Like I say, I now have a nice surface to attach the door gasket, as it were, round the sides, and there will be no fiberglass poking through, the insulation poking through. So I'm actually pretty happy with that. I mean, obviously I could probably do with bending this back a bit more, and maybe going along this edge and really flattening it out, but I couldn't be more happy with that, to be fair. Now we just need to do the same on the other side. That way we can then get the top bolted on with all three interior panels. Okay, so kind of moment of truth now. I'm going to be bolting all of these pieces together. So I've put two of the sections together right now, and I've used some clamps to clamp it together. And what I'm going to be doing for this section, instead of using rivets, I'm going to be using some self-tapping screws, countersunk self-tapping metalwork screws. So I'm going to literally go through as many times as I want along here, these sections here. Then I'm going to do the same along the roof section. So that's the roof section. What I'll do is, once this is all done, I'll then flip it up, pop it onto the bottom section with the casters, and then I'll do the same. But I wanted to do it like this way so that it is basically one unit. That way I can then hopefully just place it on top of the bottom section with the casters and then go screw all them bits in on that. So like I say, moment of truth, I'm now going to start screwing this all together. Wish me luck. Okay, so there we go. The powder coating oven is basically all together, all the wall sections and stuff. Really rigid, which actually was one of my biggest concerns using this C-stud wall section. I was worried it was going to be a bit flimsy, but now everything's all bolted together. That's really nice and rigid, and I'm super happy. I'm really glad that that worry was just that, and it was a worry. It wasn't actually going to be an issue. So obviously all I've got left to build now is the door. Annoyingly, I'm about two sections of C-stud stuff shy, so that's annoying, but I'll get some of that for next weekend and we'll get the door built. I've got hinges, I've got special clasps. I'm still waiting for the door seal anyway, so it's no big deal. However, next weekend what we'll do is we will crack on and get all this insulated, get the metal on the sides, and then obviously it's going to be a case of removing all the gubbins from the oven into this. So it was a double oven that I bought, which is great because that means I have two heating elements. Massive one, which I'm going to place at the bottom because obviously the heat rises. And the main fan assist oven I'm probably going to put about midway. That way hopefully I'll get a nice circulation of heat, and hopefully it will all be evenly distributed so that the parts and stuff that are in here will hopefully have heat everywhere and it won't just be contained into one section. So that's obviously going to be the next stages. So until then, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.